My name is Elrick Nightbreeze, and this is the current podcast. Actually, it's Matt Galloway, but for the purposes of this next story, yes, you can call me Elrick.
We played Dungeons and Dragons for 3 hours. Then I was slain by an elf.
Listen to yourself, man. You're hanging with nerds.
You take that back!
Homer, please. These boys sound very nice, but they're clearly nerds.
Really? But nerds are my mortal enemy.
Oh, poor Homer Simpson. If he only knew it was cool to play Dungeons and Dragons now. The role-playing game turns 50 this year, and it is played by millions of people around the world. Recently, seen a resurgence of popularity, driven in part by COVID, as well as programs like Stranger Things.
Fireball him!
Cast protection.
The Demogorgon is tired of your silly human bickering. It stops towards you. Boom! Fireball him! Will stop! Boom!
Cast protection.
He was in anger! And fireball! And fireball!
John Dempsey has been a Dungeon Master for 8 years now. He's been hired by people across the world to moderate their Dungeons and Dragons sessions, and he is here in our Toronto studio this morning to give us a little live radio D&D demo and introduce me to my character. Yes, Elrick Nightbreeze. John, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
I'll get to the demo and my alter ego in just a moment. I'm curious about this, Elrick. What got you into D&D?
Well, I originally got into it as a teenager, in about grade 9, I guess it was. I moved to a small town and didn't really know anybody at the school yet, and one of the teachers there, I guess, recognized that I was a bit of a loner at the time and thought that I might be interested in the game, and she gave me a boxed set to borrow. When I took the game home, I was just amazed and loved it right away.
What did you love about it?
Just the fantasy aspect of it. It was very interesting. It's something I hadn't experienced before. And the idea of playing the game was very exciting, but I didn't know anybody that played at the time until later when I moved to another town and met some friends, and we began playing for like the next 20 years.
Time flies. We're going to play in just a moment, but for people who have never played, can you just briefly explain how it's played?
Yeah, each player in the game is playing a character, which is an adventurer in the game, and the goal of the game is different for every game. It's one game they might be trying to, say, rescue a princess or kill a dragon or find the treasure or what have you. And the group of players are playing a team that's working towards this goal in the game.
You are the Dungeon Master.
Yes.
We should say, I mean, it's radio, so people can't see, but can you describe what you're wearing?
I'm wearing a hooded black robe, very similar to something you would see maybe the Grim Reaper wearing.
I won't take that personally. You do. I mean, you have the look of a Dungeon Master.
Oh, thank you.
And what does the Dungeon Master do?
So the Dungeon Master in the game is both the narrator and the moderator of the game. They describe what the players see and hear and guide the players along the adventure, and also ensure that they're following the rules and so on.
What do you make of the cultural significance and the cultural moment it seems like D&D is having? I mean, sure, Homer Simpson saying that it's just nerds that play it. That's not. It's a big deal.
When I first started this business, most of my customers were busy professionals. Yeah. So yeah, it's not just nerds playing the game anymore. A lot of people from all sorts of different aspects of life have been drawn to the game. The show Stranger Things has introduced a lot of young people to the game who had never heard of it in this generation. Yeah, it's become very popular again.
So let's play. I have a sheet that has my character description on it. This was filled out, our producers here kind of filled it out on my behalf. So they took who they thought I am and kind of inserted information to create this character. So all sorts of information on this. Can you just describe what I'm looking at here?
Yeah, this is the character sheet, which describes all the aspects of your character.
Elrick Nightbreeze.
Elrick Nightbreeze. Elrick Nightbreeze is a half-elf. He's a sorcerer, and he is a a chaotic good person, which would be similar to like a Robin Hood mentality.
Oh, okay. The chaotic bit kind of threw me for a little bit, but I like that. He has special skills, Elrick does?
Yes, he's a sorcerer, so he casts magic spells in the game. And every character in the game will have a different profession, whether it's a warrior or a wizard or a cleric or a rogue or what have you. So Elrick is a sorcerer, and his magic comes from within.
Apparently, I believe that people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. I protect those who cannot protect themselves, but I also have trouble in trusting my allies. Might be a bit of a loner when it comes to my half-elf character here. Walk me through a scenario. How do we play this game?
So the scenario we're going to play today is Elrick has, as you'll see in his background on page 2 there, he has come from a small town where he grew up as a wood carver, helping with the family business.
Do you want me to read some of this?
Yeah. If you just read to the listeners maybe his background story.
Sure. So when he was 12, Elrick noticed that he was developing strange powers, which allowed him to perform feats of magic, but he was unable to control these abilities, and his parents told him to keep the powers to himself so as not to cause the family any trouble. Most of his days were spent making wooden tokens and arrows that were used by the town guards, but in his spare time, Elrick would practice his magic hidden away in a neighbor's barn, trying to gain control of his abilities. This had a tragic result one day, as his magical practice resulted in a fire which burned the neighbor's barn to the ground. The neighbors were furious. The townsfolk grew fearful of him. It was decided by his family that it would be best for all if Elrick left the community, at least until he learned to control his magic. Saddened to leave, Elrick packed up his things and took to the road, and ever since has been searching for a way to control his magic, hoping that someday he can return to his family. His travels and inquiries over the years have now led him to investigate some ancient ruins located in the Sword Coast that have been rumored to be the home of a hermit sorcerer of great power, and it is here that he hopes to find some guidance. That's quite a backstory. So what happens now?
All right, so in this scenario, Elrick has come to the ancient ruins in search of this hermit. So I have some dice here I brought.
And you have the ruins set up. I mean, there's a little model of the ruins here on the table in front of us.
Yeah, we have a scene set up here already. And we're going to be using, for the most part, the 20-sided die here. And in the game, Elrick has just come into the ancient ruins and is investigating the area when all of a sudden, out from behind one of the walls come 2 goblins.
Yikes.
Upon seeing Elrick, they draw their scimitars and rush forward to attack.
This does not sound good. What happens now?
So, when we begin a combat sequence in the game, the player and the Dungeon Master will each roll a 20-sided die.
Okay, so I'll roll the dice. 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a 5, so you would go first.
Okay, so what do I get to do?
So Elrick has several choices. He has his spells, which are on your 3rd sheet there. And also he has his weapons, a quarterstaff or a dagger.
Let's use a spell.
Okay, which one would you like?
Magic missile.
Okay.
How about that?
So, which one would you like to cast it at? Which goblin?
Oh, we'll do the goblin that is on the right.
Okay.
Gets the magic missile.
All right. So, as Elrick casts the spell, 3 bolts of force come out of his hands and fly into the goblin.
I'm going to roll this dice
you're
here.
You're going to roll that 3 times and then add 3.
3, 4, and 1.
Okay. The goblin goes down as the magic missiles slam into his body, leaving 1 goblin remaining.
Okay, so we have to do something with the goblin now?
So the goblin screams in anger, rushes forward to attack with his scimitar, and misses.
That's good news for me.
Very good news.
What happens now?
Now we come back to your turn. If we were playing with other players, then it would cycle through the other players' turns until we come back to the enemy again.
Okay.
But since it's just yourself, we'll be just going back and forth. So it would be Elrick's turn again.
Okay, so I get to use another one of these spells. How about sleep? I get to put the creature to sleep.
Okay. All right. So for this one, you're going to roll that 5 times and total it up.
Okay. 3, 5, 7, 1, and 7.
Okay. The goblin falls asleep as sparkly dust floats over its body. It falls to the ground, snoring.
Victory is mine.
Victory is yours. But wait.
Oh, no.
Another goblin comes in from the side, this one wielding a short bow. And as he aims his arrow at you and fires, it just barely misses Elrick's head. Back to Elrick's turn.
How long we don't have a ton of time, so we could play this for hours. How long do games like this go on for?
Well, generally a session is 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some groups choose to go longer. I have like some youth groups that I do that I'll just do like a 2-hour game with them.
Yeah. Why do you think it's so popular? This is the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
so we just got
yes,
a
it
little
is.
snippet of it there. Why do you think this is still so popular? In a time when people, you have all these things on your phone that just suck up attention, and it's easy to be this requires, us looking at each other, talking to each other. Why is it still so popular, do you think?
Well, I think for a couple of reasons. One, there's the fantasy aspect of it. It allows the player to be something that they maybe always wanted to be or experience. Maybe to be a wizard or a mighty warrior or something. The other aspect, I think, is it's an escape from the modern world. From the stresses of life. For a few hours, you get to go to another world and be someone else, and not have to deal with your own realistic problems, and instead focus on the character you're playing.
We will leave it as a cliffhanger. What happened to Elrick Nightbreeze? We will stay tuned to find out, or play your own game to see what happened. John, thank you very much. That was super fun. I've never played a board game live on the radio before. John Dempsey is a for-hire Dungeon Master for the board game Dungeon